I am Kevin Munoz, and I'm an artist in Austin. I like Progress, Texas, because it encapsulates the voice and opinions of many that don't typically have an outlet for their voice and opinion.
It's Monday, January 6th, 2025, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. First Monday into a real live work week for a great many Texans, and also our first real live winter weather event underway. For progressives across the country and the globe, we might feel as though the fourth anniversary of the violent MAGA uprising of January 6, 2021, upon which a huge mob of Donald Trump's supporters actively attempted and succeeded actually temporarily to stop the U.S. Congress from certifying the 2020 election of President Joe Biden as a surreal first day of an uncertain new era, a crossroads. As opinion columnist and former Capitol Police officer Aquilino Ganell puts it in The Hill this morning, reminding us that it's anticipated that Donald Trump will pardon many of the hundreds of insurrectionists who took part in that siege on the Capitol 4 years ago today. 9 minutes, he says, after he reclaims the Oval Office, clearing the way and emboldening a potential future amplification of political violence in America. Ganell, who retired from the Capitol Police early due to injuries he suffered that day, writes, quote, "Let me be very clear. Republicans in Congress do not support law enforcement if they support the pardons of those who attacked police officers and attempted to overthrow our government, the antithesis of law and order. Donald Trump ran for a second term to avoid accountability for his crimes, and Republicans in Congress are complicit in his contempt for the rule of law. They don't just want to move on from January 6th, they want to suppress the indelible mark this blatant attack has left on American history. They can't face the fact that their lies incited a fatal insurrection, and their negligence is a betrayal to the more than 140 police officers who were injured or died in the aftermath of the attack. The rule of law applies to all. There is a difficult road ahead, but if we all chip in and fight to defend our democracy, we can finally turn the page on January 6, 2021, and preserve our democracy for future generations," unquote. And there's more in a powerful read linked in the show notes this morning. Kevin Frecking at the Associated Press says even some Republicans are hesitant about any blanket pardon Trump might be considering for the over 1,250 attackers who have pleaded guilty or been convicted after trials, with more than 650 of them imprisoned on terms ranging from a few days to 22 years. Apparently, at this point, still at least mildly concerned about the optics of what amounts to the approval of violence against law enforcement officers. Trump, meanwhile, is taking only mild heat in the press for hosting a secretive party at his Florida compound over the weekend to celebrate the January 6th insurrection. Any limits on all this will not come from the executive branch. For Texas progressives, we begin a period of steady and steadfast watching, working, and witnessing. From here, we monitor and amplify the moves that a literally criminal regime will attempt to make against the values, rights, and freedoms we defend. Not to mention the very institutions erected to protect those values, rights, and freedoms. Today, those institutions remain in place. With the midterm elections just a couple of years away, the ramp up to those midterm elections starts, well, how about today? Here in Texas, Republican lawmakers will be flooding the zone with as much culture war crap as they can dream up in the upcoming legislative session. Our task as the opposition will be to judiciously challenge what matters and deflect what does not. Joshua Fechter at the Texas Tribune brings up one issue with legitimate importance in Texas, our housing affordability crisis, and what might be in the cards to address it. Likely, it'll come down to yet another attack on city government local control by a state government which has shown significant contempt for the well-being of our larger democratically run cities. Studies show that Texas needs about 320,000 more homes than it currently has, which is combined with our massive and continuing population growth, resulting in notably high prices and rental rates statewide. Look for Republican lawmakers, many of whom come from small towns and rural areas where housing problems are not as severe, to push for the overriding of local zoning restrictions, which were put in place by people who actually live in these cities and understand why those restrictions are in place, while others will rally to the side of wealthier NIMBY urban dwellers who want more housing to be built, just not in their backyards. Republicans will push for maximum density in lower income areas, but allow for high income areas to avoid their part in the solution. The Texas Supreme Court is set to review the hubbub between SMU and the United Methodist Church. Fox 4 TV in Dallas says SMU has been trying to separate itself from the church since 2019, when its Board of Trustees voted to amend the school's Articles of Incorporation to clarify that SMU is a separate entity from the church, whose South Central Jurisdictional Conference sued over that move, claiming breach of contract, which was dismissed by a trial court but upheld by the notoriously conservative Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. The move by SMU's board had followed a church decision to keep its ban on recognizing same-sex marriages and ordaining clergy who are members of the LGBTQ+ community. The Texas Supreme Court is scheduled to hear oral arguments on the SMU case on January 15th. It should come as no surprise that a federal program launched under the Biden administration might have found neglect and disdain by Texas state officials, but that's definitely the case with the 988 suicide hotline, which was launched in 2022 and has seen great success in other states where funding and administration has been embraced. For example, Florida has almost 4 times the number of 988 call centers as Texas does, all in the wake of an alarming 37% rise in the suicide rate here in the Lone Star State, where funding for 988 operations is currently running on a $7 million deficit after Texas lawmakers failed to address the issue in 2023. Since the 988 program's launch, Texas's 5 centers have received more than 380,000 calls, the second highest volume in the nation. But thousands of those calls go unanswered as capacity is strained and hold times are extended. State Senator Jose Menendez of San Antonio has filed Senate Bill 188, which would create a more reliable and robust funding source for the Texas 988 hotline. And hey, y'all, it's cold out there. As I'm recording this morning, it's 33 in San Antonio, 31 in Houston, 28 in Austin, 23 in DFW, 18 in Lubbock, and a bone-chilling 14 degrees up in Amarillo. Zachariah Washington at the Dallas Morning News says ERCOT has issued a weather watch as of yesterday, which is in effect through this Friday. This warning issued, quote, due to forecasted cold weather across the ERCOT region, higher electrical demand, and the potential for lower reserves, unquote. No interruption in power service is expected, they say, but still the warning. See the show notes for a link to ERCOT's supply and demand website if you're looking to monitor. Our funding here at Progress Texas is rarely sufficient for us to plan much more than a quarter or two ahead, but the conservative disinformation machine has no such obstacle. They've got funding coming from oil and tech billionaires and religious right-wing activist groups and more. Our regular everyday listeners, just like you, form the backbone of our funding here at Progress Texas, and we could use your support as a monthly contributor. No amount is too small. Go to progresstexas.org/donate. Thanks to Francesca Beaumont, Dolores Garcia, and Jim Bates, all of whom have done exactly that lately. We appreciate all of you. And while you're at our website, be sure to grab the merch to match your progressive values at our web store. We've got Y'all Means All, Revolution, and our most popular Humans Against Ted Cruz t-shirts waiting for you there, all union printed right here in Texas, and lots more, all at progresstexas.org. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Monday, January 6, 2025. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning.